Hello, and welcome to today's Savvy Session. Now, in this session, you're going to learn 3 ways to keep from flipping your lid. In a previous video, you learned Dr. Dan Siegel's hand model of the brain, which helps us understand what's going on in our brains when we lose it or flip our lid. And in case you missed it, here's a quick review. You can follow along with the diagram to see the brain structures as I go through the model. So first, the brainstem, the oldest part of our brain. So basic that all it deals with is the bare bones of keeping the body alive. It keeps the heart beating, the lungs breathing, eyes blinking, all the basic autonomic body functions. Then we developed our limbic system, and this deals with safety and motivation. It's our threat detector and our emotion center. As we experience things in the world, the limbic system stores responses so that next time we'll move towards things that we liked or were good for us and stay away from things that we didn't like or that were a threat to our survival. And finally, the most advanced part of our brain, the cortex, developed. Now, the cortex is the most complex area of our brain, and it allows us to make sense of all the information coming to us from the world via our senses. All voluntary movement, speech, language, thinking, attention, perception, awareness, all the smarty pants stuff that make us human. And the prefrontal cortex, so if this is the brain, like in the model, the prefrontal cortex is right here behind the forehead. And the prefrontal cortex has a special purpose in our brains. It is in our hand model, it's from the first knuckle down, and it is not only the seat of judgment, planning, and decision making, but it also integrates your brain function. So it keeps it all working together. The part that keeps us alive, the parts that keep us safe and motivated, and the part that keeps us smart. So the prefrontal cortex is responsible for integration of brain functioning. But under threat or stress, the emotional center of our brain can get triggered and make us flip our lid. We become disintegrated. That means that when we're stressed, we no longer, and we flip our lid, we no longer have access to the cortex. So our reactions won't be based on all the life lessons we've learned, or our values, or our goals, or all the great skills that we've learned to deal with whatever the threat might be. Once we've flipped our lid, we're acting with these lower brain functions. So we might as well be a sloth or a lizard. But if we want to stay human, we need ways to keep ourselves integrated. And that's what we're learning today. Because we don't want to become disintegrated. Who needs that? So, to avoid us flipping our lids, your first skill is one that you just learned. It is know your brain. Understanding this basic brain information and how your brain functions can help you keep it all together in that moment of stress. Knowing how the threat center works, along with knowing the early signs of when you're fixing to lose it, allows you to create awareness about when you're getting ready to flip your lid. And that moment of awareness re-engages that big, beautiful cortex of yours. And you've just reintegrated your brain. So as we learned, the limbic system, right, the threat center and the emotion center, it's super great at letting you know that there's a threat. And some threats are life or death, like a lion or a speeding train coming at you. But others might just be a threat to your ego, like getting a snarky text or being rejected by someone. Different levels of threat, to be sure, but your limbic system can't tell the difference. It just knows that there's a threat, and it tells your body to get ready. When the threat is life or death, like the lion or the train, and your threat detector fires, you don't need to have all of this higher level functioning, because you don't need to calculate the exact distance between you and the lion. You don't have to analyze which is the best or most beneficial route of escape. All you need is to get away from danger. But when the threat isn't life or death, which is hopefully most of the time, we benefit from a more rational approach that's in line with our goals and in line with our values and in line with our morals. And that prefrontal cortex helps us make better decisions. So we need our cortex. Our brains evolved so that we could make better decisions for ourselves and better decisions for the world. So it would be great if we could do it more often. Now, the next tip for keeping it all together is one that you've probably heard me say before, and that is to turn to your breath. Breathe. Now, don't roll your eyes. This is important. When we find ourselves in a situation where we have become stressed and we are at risk of freaking out, it is almost always the breath that will determine the quality of our responses and how quickly we can recover from that stressful moment. When the limbic system senses a threat, it sends signals out to our entire body to get ready to fight, to take flight, or to give up or freeze. So a bunch of physiological cues are happening in your body at the same time. And a purposeful, deep breath sends a different alternative message to our body. It tells us, hey, it's not life or death here. And that calms our limbic system. Now, I don't have time to go into the breathing exercises here in this tutorial, but you can find other tutorials for free in our free stuff area at savvysessions.com. Now, the last technique for keeping it all together is name it to tame it. And name it to tame it involves engaging your cortex again by naming the feeling or emotional experience that you're having in the moment. And basically, let's just say someone steals a parking spot that you've been eyeing, and you begin to feel that threat center ping. Yes, it's not a lion, but most of our triggers aren't. We get triggered by insignificant stuff all the time. Why? Because your threat center can't tell the difference. It counts on your cortex saying, dude, this is not a big deal. It's a parking spot. It's not life or death. Chill out. So, when something happens that causes a strong emotion in you, get used to feeling that emotion and then saying, wait a second, what's going on here? Name it to tame it. Say, I'm feeling angry, I'm feeling irritated, or I'm feeling scared. And then identify what just happened that sparked that feeling. A snarky email, an ignored call or text, someone disagreeing with you. Is it life or death? Think about why this non-life threatening situation has you so upset. And when we engage the cortex by thinking and reasoning, we step away from the emotion and we are less likely to react with our lower brain, right? So, this is so important right now, especially in this age of misinformation and memes that are designed to ping our threat centers. Now, some of you are reading those memes right now and your limbic system is starting to rev up. That's because for this example, and marketers and politicians and all kinds of potsters use psychologists and sophisticated algorithms to identify and ping your threat centers in order to motivate you to do what they want you to do. All you have to do is mention buzzwords, right? Trump, ping. Socialism, ping. Social justice, ping. None of those things are life or death. There are no lions that are going to come out and get you from the internet. But when we are pinged, we react at the fear or anger basic level. But with just a little practice, we can use more of the brain that we were blessed with and to increase our chances of responding in a way that will actually resolve the situation or solve the problem. Now, if you don't want to solve the problem, you just want to stir the pot or complain, then it's okay to continue thinking like a slug or a lizard. You go ahead and do you. But for the rest of you, there you have it. 3 go-to ways to avoid flipping your lid. Now, it won't work every time. All of us are going to flip our lids from time to time, but these skills will help you do it less. So sign up for more free stuff at savvysessions.com and keep watching Savvy Sessions for better mental health.